What's up, y'all? Today I just wanted to start off this video by being really honest. It's been 21 days actually, since I've looked at porn, and I'm proud of that number, and I think that that number's only going to keep on increasing. And for a long time, I was stuck at like a 7-day interval. But since I've started applying these things that I've been telling you guys about, like accountability and these rules that I'm going to talk about today, that number has really just shot up. And so it's not really a number that I, focus on every day. I just thought about it this morning. I was like, it's been 21 days. So it's kind of cool. And but it's not really about the number. It's about eventually just leaving it behind forever, right? And so my plan is to not go back at all. So pretty soon that number is going to be in the thousands, right? So I also wanted to just say that, even though I'm making these videos, I'm not obsessed with porn, and I'm just like an average person. I go about my day, and I think by setting up accountability, by being intentional with my goals in my life, and being open and honest, and setting up rules, that I've set up like a certain way of life where I'm just not gonna go back into porn. And so it's going back into porn isn't something that I spend my days worrying about. It's it's freeing to have accountability, to have rules set up so that I can just live normally without having to think about like, oh man, I really don't want to mess up, so I think rules, even though they can constrain your life in some ways, are really freeing, because it takes away my worry about failing, and my rules kind of evolve naturally from my failure. And so I'll just explain like how mine have come to be. It's come through accountability. So usually how it goes, if I totally mess up and go back into porn or masturbation or something, I'll talk to my accountability buddy, and he'll say, okay, you failed, you blew it, not a big deal, but how are you gonna make that not happen again? And so what rules are you gonna set up in your life to make that not happen? Because you can't keep doing the same thing and expect different results. You can't just keep living the same way and rely on willpower, because obviously that's not working, right? So he would tell me that you need to make some real changes. And so these rules, they just come from accountability and analyzing my failure and saying, okay, how did I fail, and what can I do in the future to prevent that? So one example of a rule that I have in my life is that I won't use Instagram unless somebody can look over my shoulder and see exactly what I'm doing. And so this rule is meant to stop me before I go too far. And I like to think about my walk and my struggle with porn as if I'm driving down this road that's on the side of a cliff. As long as I'm focused on where I want to go, as long as I'm striving for what's next, I'm going to stay on that road, no problem. But as soon as I get distracted or start really focusing on myself, I'm going to start veering off that road. And these rules that I set up are like guardrails that are going to bounce me back onto that road in the direction that I was going before. And they bounce me back before I go off that ledge, right? So they're meant to stop me and right me in the right direction. And so that's what makes a good guardrail for me. And so some people can be really strict with their guardrails, or you can be as lenient as you want. But for me, I had 3 ways that I was getting triggered, or that I was accessing porn. And I had my cell phone, I had my iPad, and I had my laptop. And through all 3 of those mediums, I was finding ways to, or I was being exposed to things that were triggering me. And eventually I just sold my iPad because I just couldn't handle it. And I could have sold my phone and my laptop, but I didn't think that that was necessary. And I think that I can beat this without going that far. I know that people have done that. And that's, you gotta do what you gotta do, and you can. Maybe I will eventually if I realize that what I'm doing is not working. If it's not, these rules that I set up aren't cutting it, then I need to set up stricter rules, and maybe I will go to that eventually. But for now, I kept my laptop, kept my phone, and I just set up rules with how I use my phone and my laptop. On my phone, I realized that there was a certain list of apps that were serving as, that were providing those triggers for me, or were ways that I was accessing, more intense porn after I got triggered. And I set up rules for how I use those apps. And so with my phone, I have complete freedom to use it with any other app, besides the ones that are troublesome for me. And so what I did is I got all those apps and put them in a box on my phone and grouped them together. And I said that I'm not going to use these apps unless I am in a very public place where someone can look over my shoulder and see what I'm doing. And so even though, this is a little constraining on the use of these apps, ultimately, the benefit vastly outweighs, any of this, whatever the small sacrifice is that I'm making. And so the list of apps that I'm using for this include YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Netflix, the App Store, and Safari, I think are all of them. Oh, and Amazon Video. So, yeah, I'm that lame that even something on Amazon Video can be a trigger for me. And so I just grouped them all together and set up a rule for them. And it's worked really well, actually. And I set up the same rule for my laptop, just a little bit more strict, is that I don't use my laptop unless I'm in a very public place. And yeah, it's worked super well. And right now I'm in like a transitionary phase where I'm moving, and so I need to lighten up on some of those rules, like my use of Safari when I'm alone and stuff like that. And that is when I had that hiccup 20 days ago. But other than that, when I was established back home, that those rules were working really well. And yeah, I just have to keep on keeping those rules up. And eventually I think once I conquer this more, I can, and I start having more self-control, maybe I can start releasing some of these rules. But for now, I think I just gotta keep them in place because I'm not. Honestly, I can't handle having Instagram, or like having unrestricted use of Instagram. That's me. I just, for some reason, I always find a way to see some like revealing picture, and I just can't handle it. So I have to set up a rule. And these rules become like a matter of conscience, and they become something that my accountability partner is holding me accountable to. You know, I'm no longer just accountable for completely failing, but I'm accountable for just breaking my guardrail rules. And so these have been super helpful for me. I hope that you can, see that and maybe apply them in some way in your life. And so I just think that, without these rules and without really being held accountable, I was just spinning my wheels and I wasn't really getting anywhere. And so holding myself accountable and to these rules has been tremendously helpful for me. And so, yeah. You got this.